Hey everybody, John here from Cardboard of the Rings with the fourth and final part of our series on Lord of the Rings, the card game, the magazine by Hachette Partworks. That's right, this is our last video. If you missed the previous three, you can find them here in the channel. Of course, click that subscribe button and find us on your favorite podcast app as well. All right. Again, if you are just joining us and you're a new player, this is probably not the way you're going to learn how to play this game. I'll go ahead and tell you that. You probably should check out some of our other new player advice videos here on the channel. Chad's done an awesome job with those. But again, we are exploring this magazine series that was published in the UK. Once more, huge thanks to listener AJ who secured us a copy of these 4 issues. I have really enjoyed going through these, even when I've taken issue with them, but you know, we'll talk more about that later. As always, we're going to look at what's in this issue. I'm going to play through the quest as if I were a new player, and then I'll review the quest and what I learned, and then look back on this issue and also the previous 3 with my experience then as a player who's been playing this game a long time. So, yeah, very familiar format if you're used to what we've been doing the last 3 times out. But this time we are going to be going to the Prancing Pony. Check that out. Yeah. In this issue were some new things, some fun things, including lore, Aragorn, very useful. Yeah. As well as, that's right, foil Bill the Pony. I mean, he is, look at that. Look at that. He's as shiny as he deserves. I'm going to go ahead and just shuffle him into my deck here. All right. Oh, there was one more thing that was in this issue that fell out actually as I was reading through it before I started. And it's this little notice right here. It says, "Dear reader, thank you for purchasing the Lord of the Rings, the card game. The limited 4-issue run has now come to an end. We'll be looking at the level of interest before making a decision about whether the collection will be launched nationally in the near future. As a thank you for supporting the Lord of the Rings, the card game limited run, we would like to offer you a free gift. To receive this gift, simply send this stop insert to the address below. Please remember to include your name and address and tick the box below. Please send me my free gift." Tick and where to send it to. There's also apparently you could win a £50 Amazon voucher for taking a survey potentially. It says, "Yours faithfully, Hachette Partworks." Or Hachette? Hachette? I still don't know how to say it 4 videos in. Sorry. Little postscript there at the end too. Let's read that. "Alternatively, if you wish, we can offer you a refund on the issues you have purchased. Simply send this stop insert to our free post address above and tick the box below. Don't forget to include your name and address." So let's take a look at what we have in issue 4 of Lord of the Rings, the card game, the magazine. This time we're playing through, as I've said, the Prancing Pony. It is going to introduce us to multiplayer games, although we will not be playing this one as a multiplayer game for reasons that will become evident, I think, as we get into it. Okay. As before, I'm not going to read the story text. Certainly, if you've at least seen the movies, you are familiar with this portion of the story. And by the way, I realized, well, I'll get to what I realized here in a little bit. So as before, not going to worry about the story text, not going to worry about the subscription info, because this is the last issue that was published. It has been confirmed multiple times that they are not continuing with this series. So this is it. I do have to say the write-ups are pretty good from what I've read. I haven't read them in depth and taken my red pen to them, but if you're not familiar with the story, it's not a bad thing to read. Okay, so let's go on to how to play. Frodo and his companions arrive at Bree to find the shadow of the Black Riders already on the crossroads town. Unsure of who to trust, they decide to lodge at the Prancing Pony. There, they meet a friend of Gandalf named Strider, who offers to lead them to Rivendell, but their movements are also tracked by less savory folk. This adventure uses all the rules you've learned so far, so you want the How to Play sheet to hand as you play. Again, that How to Play sheet is available in issue 3, and as I said before, probably should have been in issue 1. Heroes. The first time you play through this adventure, we recommend you use the following heroes: Aragorn with the lore icon, Frodo Baggins, Sam Gamgee, and Pippin with the spirit icon. we're not doing that. If you want, you can of course use all 4 Hobbits, though it will make the adventure a bit easier. Usually a player can only control 3 heroes plus the ring bearer, Frodo Baggins. Of course, you can use Aragorn and all the Hobbits if you're playing a multiplayer game using the rules on page 11. Again, we'll look at those in a little while. Place your heroes just in front of you on the table as normal. Attach the 1 ring to Frodo and attach the Strider card to Aragorn. Oh. You actually do get that one out of the gate. Well, that's handy. As you can see, I elected to do... Well, that's going to make me change my plan a little bit. I elected to do a different build than what they have. So I'm using Frodo, I'm using Leadership Aragorn, Tactics Merry, and again, Sam Gamgee. In fact, I'm going to switch these 2 around just because I'm used to having Sam there. Okay, so Strider is a 1-cost attachment. Now I have to look at this player card and... Okay, so I will need to put one more card in here. I have nosed through this quest before, and as before, I'm not sure it's very winnable with the deck that they give you, because this, well, you'll see. Not enough readying, not enough allies, and a lot of enemies. So I made some adjustments, but Strider is a 1-cost neutral attachment attached to a hero. While you control 2 or fewer heroes, attached hero does not exhaust to commit to the quest. Well, so much for that. While you control 5 or fewer characters, attached hero gets +2 willpower. Okay, so that's going to be the main thing, is that Strider is going to give Aragorn +2 willpower. And another reason I picked Strider for him, or picked, rather, Leadership Aragorn, is because of his readying ability. So we're going to see that here in a bit. But willpower, as always, a crucial part of this game. Even with how the goofy quest phase works in the magazine, willpower is still a very, very crucial part of this game. So, all right, player cards. Take the following cards. There's the train. By this point, the train has probably made another appearance in these videos. Man, he just loves driving a train. I mean, you know, I would too. If I was a train engineer, you know, not just for safety's sake, but just for the fun of it, I'd be laying on that horn every single intersection as long as I possibly could. All right, well, normally listening to the podcast, you don't get to hear that because I'm usually podcasting out of my podcast closet, not my studio. So anyway, and yes, I'm sure many of you are looking through all the stuff behind me and the various games and whatnot. And yeah, you can barely see what those are, I bet. Yeah. All right. Cool. Lord Aragorn, not using him. We're going to set him off to the side. And we are going to... You can see the player card setup they had. It's not terrible. I mean, the player card pool they have is pretty limited. It is playable, I guess, but the issue I ran into looking at it and kind of playing a quick dummy round was... There's still a lot of stuff there. It's not a deck. It's a collection of cards, but it's not a deck, if you know what I mean. So I did follow this advice here. Otherwise, if you prefer to build your own deck, just choose any 30 player cards from your collection and shuffle them together to make your player deck. So this tells us from the outset, if you don't want to play the pre-con, you can play your own deck. So that is what I'm doing. All right. The encounter deck. Take the 2 Ringwraith cards, and put them to one side for now. Take the Bill Ferny card and place it in the staging area, and take the remaining encounter cards, 40 through 47, and the Piercing Cry card from the previous of the first adventure to create the encounter deck. What does Piercing Cry do? Peril. When revealed, search the encounter deck and discard pile for a Nazgul enemy. Either add it to the staging area or put it into play. Engage with the first player. Shuffle the encounter deck. Okay, so that's bad. Not so bad if we don't put Nazgul in there, though. So that's something to think about. Okay. All right. So here we go. Encounter deck shuffled up. All right, back up here. Tokens right back here. And by the way, issue 3. I don't think this made this into the issue 3 video. I'm not sure if I edited this back in or not. But issue 3 introduced an additional sheet of tokens, so I have added an equal amount of tokens to the token bank for both last video and this one. Threat tracker, take the threat tracker and place it beside your playing area. It's again in issue 3. Well, once again, I'm using mine from the core set, the large one from the core set. If you have a newer core set, yours is smaller and actually fits in a deck box now. And at the start of your game, set your threat level to an amount equal to the threat cost of all your heroes combined. That's 26 if you're using Aragorn and the 3 Hobbits as your heroes. Well, it still works out to 26, 12, 8, and 6, and 0. Yep, starting hand. Draw the top 5 cards of your player deck to form your starting hand, and you're ready to go. All right, card number 1. Dunedain Mark. Attached hero gains +1 attack. Frodo's Intuition. Each hero you control, I don't know why he has a resource on him already. Each hero you control gets +1 willpower until the end of the round. We've seen that one before. Dagger of Westernessa. That's nice to see for Merry. And 1, 2, 3, 4 Quick Strike. Ooh, your tactics heavy. And 5 Shadow of the Past. All right, well, we'll see how this goes. Round 1. Everybody gets a resource. And draw another card. Sneak attack. All right. Your aim for the first turn of the game is the Prancing Pony. Let's read. Arriving in Bree, the Hobbits travel to the Prancing Pony, where they find shelter for the night and encounter the mysterious Strider, alongside a number of local Hobbits. Making a little too merry in the tavern, the Hobbits attract the attention of more suspicious eyes. Your aim for the first turn of the game is to reach the Prancing Pony. Take your turn following all the steps on the How to Play sheet, just like you've done over the previous adventures. You don't need to worry about earning progress tokens in this first turn. Instead, you can use the quest phase to travel to the Prancing Pony. This makes it your active location. So from your next turn, put any progress tokens you earn in the quest phase on the Prancing Pony. So is the page a location, or is the page a quest card? I don't know. Special rule, traveling to the Prancing Pony. After you travel to the Prancing Pony, put 1 ally into play from your hand if you have one. I do not. So let's, I guess, do the first turn, then we'll travel to the Prancing Pony. I think that's how it starts. So go ahead and load up Merry with Dunedain Mark and then the dagger. So he is attacking for 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, potentially 6 if we're attacking stuff that has a higher engagement cost than our threat. Okay. Cool. So there's no need to quest anybody because I can't make any progress anyway. So at the beginning of the staging step, this is a constant effect for Bill Ferny. Forced. Sorry, this is a forced trigger, not a constant effect, but this is something that happens every turn. Forced. At the beginning of the staging step, either shuffle 1 out-of-play Ringwraith into the encounter deck, or each player raises his threat by 1 for each non-fellowship hero committed to the quest. So we'll commit Frodo to the quest. Again, the goofy quest rules in the magazine mean that I don't need to actually try to equal any kind of threat coming off of him. So let's see what we get. 3. Shady Breelander. 2 threat. 3 plus 2 is 5 versus 2 means, oh no, nothing happens. Shady Breelander. While the 1 ring is exhausted, Shady Breelander gains cannot be optionally engaged. Well, the 1 ring is not exhausted, so let's optionally engage the Shady Breelander, because we can kill the Shady Breelander no problem. Sam doesn't ready, but that's okay. Strider. Strider's going to be our defender, it looks like. So he defends for 2 against 3. He is going to take 1 damage. And then we are going to attack back with Merry at 3, 4, 5, 6. Kills the Shady Breelander right off the bat. End of that. Okay, so I guess in our quest phase, sorry, we traveled to the Prancing Pony because This is a location or a quest card or something. So let's pick this up. Special rule, traveling with the Prancing Pony. After you travel with the Prancing Pony, put one ally into play from your hand if you have one. No such luck. You only need to earn 4 progress tokens to leave the Prancing Pony, but the attentions of shady Breelanders and squint-eyed Southerners, not to mention Bill Ferny, make this difficult. You can optionally... No, you can't optionally engage Bill Ferny, so you won't be able to attack him until your threat rises to 28? No, 38. Enemies are likely to pile up in the staging area, making progress hard, so think carefully... So think carefully about which characters to commit to the quest each turn, and which characters to keep ready to engage the enemy where possible. Okay, we don't really have many tools to deal with Bill Ferny, because his engagement cost is actually 38 threat, not 28. So, yeah, I'm going to play this. I think win or lose, this is going to be my only attempt at this, because I am not sure that it was even play tested, to be frank with you. If it was, then I don't know that the notes made it to layout, because that's kind of a mess. Okay, let's continue with this little sidebar. The Ringwraiths. The biggest danger facing you with the Prancing Pony is that the longer it takes you to leave, the more likely the Ringwraiths are to turn up. Both the Bill Ferny and Squint-Eyed Southerner enemy cards and Unwanted Attention Treachery cards force you to choose whether to shuffle a Ringwraith card into the encounter deck or face other difficult consequences. Nevertheless, you'll probably want to avoid shuffling Ringwraiths into the deck for as long as you possibly can. True. And then there's a special rule for when we leave, but now we are at the Prancing Pony. We are at the start of... refresh phase. So we've refreshed, we've threaded up. Now we're at the start of turn 2. So everybody gets more money. And Grim Resolve, oh boy, oh well. There's probably some nasty stuff in that encounter deck, but let's play Frodo's Intuition. 2 cost, 2 leadership, or 2 fellowship cost. It's not a sphere. And each hero you control gets +1 willpower to the end of the round. Draw 1 card for each Hobbit hero you control. So I draw 1, 2, 3 cards. 1, Bill the Pony. 2, 3. Okay, Bill the Pony, Hobbit Cloak, and Dunedain Warning. So Bill the Pony is free from me. Hobbit Cloak costs 1. And we'll put that there on Samwise. Then Dunedain Warning. Yeah. Let's put that on Aragorn. He's probably... We'll see. We'll see. And we got that 1 resource left on him to ready him. Okay. So everybody's +1 willpower. I'm gonna take the hit here. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, because I still control 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 or fewer characters. So we got 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11. 11 against 3. I'm wanting to clear this, but yeah, I'm really wanting to clear this. And then Aragorn, we're going to go and ready him. Well, I don't think there's... No, we're not. I don't think that there's any Necromancer's Reach or similar things in here. To my knowledge, there's not any in the regular Black Rider's quest. There's no things that... We'll see. I don't know. I don't think there is. All right. So 11 against 3, and then a Squint-Eyed Southerner, 2. Oh, okay. So we got a forced at the beginning of the staging step. Sorry, we missed this. Either shuffle 1 out-of-play Ringwraith into the encounter deck, or each player raises his threat by 1 for each non-Fellowship hero he committed to the quest. Well, I'm going to go up, I guess, by 2. And then, when revealed, you must either shuffle an out-of-play Ringwraith into the encounter deck or reveal an additional encounter card. Another thing to think about is special rule leaving the Prancing Pony. Once there are 4 progress tokens on the Prancing Pony, move on to the next quest stage. When you do so, discard 1 card from the top of the encounter deck. If you're playing a multiplayer game, do so for each player. Put each enemy discarded into play engaged with you. All right, so potentially, if I shuffle that Ringwraith in there, I might get it. So maybe this next card is Piercing Cry. That would be nice. Nope, it's Unwanted Attention. When revealed, you must either remove 2 heroes you control from the quest or shuffle an out-of-play Ringwraith into the encounter deck. Man. There's 5 up there. Dang it. I'm going to do it. I can't cancel it right now. We're going to go for it. I don't like it, but we're going to go for it. Okay. So, 11 against 5. We more than provided the adequate progress to do this. All right. So, once there are 4 progress tokens, move on to the next quest stage. Discard 1 card from the top of the encounter deck per player. And thankfully, it's not an enemy. It's the other copy of Unwanted Attention. Okay. Into the Wild. After a troubled night at the Prancing Pony, Strider and the 4 hobbits leave Bree, heading into the wild, determined to reach Rivendell as quickly as possible. But prying eyes still follow them, and it seems the Black Riders are not far away. All right, we'll worry about this in a moment, because we still have to deal with all this mess. Squint-Eyed Southerner, I'm going to optionally engage him, readying Sam. Okay. Oh, and I have Bill the Pony ready. Bill the Pony could get in on the attack if he wanted to. And he probably will, just for fun. All right, Squint-Eyed Southerner. Gonna exhaust Sam. So Sam is defending for 1, 2, 3, 4, because 33 is higher than 29. And so Squint-Eyed Southerner bounces off of him. Mary attacks for 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. And Bill the Pony just gets in there too. Why not? And we kill the Squint-Eyed Southerner. I don't know what they have against Southerners in this game. I mean, really. Come on, y'all. Refresh. Threat up. We're 30 threat. That's getting a little high for these hobbits. Aragorn's, I don't know how much Aragorn is helping us here. Okay, to escape Bree and to complete the adventure, oh, so we're just these 2 stages, that's cool. You'll need to accrue 12 progress tokens, which is likely to be harder than it sounds. By now, the chances are that your threat will be 28 or higher, so any shady Breelanders who appear from the encounter deck are likely to attack, as may any of the Squint-Eyed Southerners or even Bill Ferny if your threat has really risen. Even worse, by this point, there's likely to be a Ringwraith or 2 in the encounter deck. The Ringwraiths are very dangerous, and optionally engaging them is risky, but progress will be difficult with a Ringwraith or even 2 in the staging area, contributing their threat strength of 3 for this stage of the quest. For this stage of the quest, the best thing to do is to look at the cards in your hand and work out which heroes you can give willpower bonuses to. Use these heroes to quest each turn while using the others to defend and attack if necessary. Good advice. Good standard advice. It's fine. Hey, let's read about Bill the Pony. Bill the Pony. Yay. Bill the Pony is a humble but rather useful ally. He's free to play if you're using Sam Gamgee as one of your heroes, and he gives each of your Hobbit characters +1 hit point. Very useful when there's likely to be some scuffling with shady Breelanders. True. Okay, so, new turn. Bill does not get a resource. Bill doesn't need a resource. He's already so awesome. Let's draw a card. Another dagger. I'm not sure that's particularly useful. You know what I'm... We're going for it. We're going for it. Okay. We're going to quest. Everybody. 2, 4, 7, 9, 10. Okay. 10. Now I have to raise my threat by 1 for each non-fellowship hero committed to the quest, so that goes up by 3. So I'm going to start losing some of these extra bonuses, but that's okay. My logic here is I want to see if I can get rid of Bill Ferny, and it stinks to have to run up the threat that high, but I'd rather do that now and get him down, because I don't have Ally Gandalf to Gandalf bomb him from orbit. So, I mean, again, this would have been a perfect turn if I'd had an Ally Gandalf in hand, especially, man, that sneak attack. The sneak attack. So the ideal play here, again, putting back on the knowledge of this game, the ideal play in this situation would be to play sneak attack during the resource phase, because you do have a player actions during the resource phase. But so you sneak attack Gandalf in during the resource phase. He does his 4 damage to Bill Ferny. At the end of the resource phase, he comes to hand. Then you enter planning, at which point you could pay the 5, because I've got 6 resources here. You could pay the 5 neutral resources to play Gandalf from hand. And I've done that many times playing this quest, and it's always a good feeling. But yeah, nuking Bill Ferny from orbit is that's one of the joys in this game. Not as much fun as hitting him in the face with an apple, perhaps, but we never got an apple attachment that granted the range trait. So, oh well. Okay, well, I got a whole lot of nothing that I can do in my hand. So yeah, we're questing. I'm gonna raise the threat. So yeah, 10 against 3. See how much of this we can get right now. Piercing Cry. Bummer. Search the encounter deck and discard pile for a Nazgul enemy. Either add it to the staging area or put it into play engaged with the first player. Shuffle the encounter deck. I'm going to engage it. I'm not saying that's a good idea. I'm just saying that's what I'm doing. Because I'd rather make the progress now than not. And then the Ringwraith is 3 threat, 5 attack, 4 defense, 5 hit points. It says cannot have non-Morgul attachments, so you can't trap it with Forest Snare. Not that we have any traps or anything like that. Forced, when the Ringwraith attacks, deal it an additional shadow card if the 1 ring is exhausted. I could have canceled that, but I would have had to draw out another card, and including the Ringwraith, there were 5 cards in there, so nah. Nah. We'll take it. Okay. He's engaged with me. However, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, sorry. 12 against 3. Is that right? 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12. Yeah, 12 against 3. Wow. I'll make 9 of that progress. Okay. All right. Sam readies because of engaging this. After you engage... Oh, you know what? After you engage an enemy with a higher engagement cost than your threat, Ready Sam Gamgee, he gets +1 willpower. We actually do 1 more progress. That's when that works. That's the only time that works. But if you engage an enemy there as part of some quest or some encounter card effect during staging, you're still in the quest phase. The quest hasn't resolved yet. So Sam is questing now for 4 instead of 3. So we get the 1 more progress. So actually, if we survive combat this round, I actually feel really good about our chances here. Okay, so we're going to survive combat this round because I can do math. Strider. Do I just want to take it on Sam? 2, 4, 35 is higher than 33. Yeah, we're gonna just take this on Sam. There's no shadows again in this game, so. Oh, you know what? This forced effect makes no sense then to me as a new player. What is a shadow card? When a Ringwraith attacks, deal it an additional shadow card if the 1 ring is exhausted. What does that mean? I don't know. I don't know. Okay, coming back to this. Yeah, so Sam's just going to take it. Sam's defending for 1, 2 from his response, 3, 4 from Hobbit Cloak, because he's defending against a enemy with a higher engagement cost, or a higher Yeah, higher engagement cost than my threat. I said it right the first time. So he's going to take 1, 2, 3, 4. He's going to take 1 damage out of that, which is a little bit of a bummer because I have no healing in this deck, but that's okay. All right. Refresh. Thread up. Draw a card. Valiant Sacrifice. After an ally card leaves play, that card's controller draws 2 cards. I can't do that to Bill. I can't do that to Bill. Come on. We're not doing that to Bill. Not at all. Okay. Everybody gets resource 1, 2, 3, 4. And here's what we're going to do. Shadow of the Past. Shadow of the Past costs 2. I got no reason to not do this to... Yeah. I'll do it off of Frodo's resources. Because this is going to be the last turn no matter what. And Shadow of the Past puts the top card of the encounter discard pile back on top of the encounter deck. Why am I doing that? That got me a Nazgul last time. It's because this other Nazgul is not in play. This other Nazgul, this Piercing Cry specifically says search the encounter deck and discard pile for Nazgul enemy. It doesn't say search an out-of-play location, so this Nazgul is over there. I'm going to raise my threat from Ferny's effect, and I'm actually going to be high enough, not quite high enough to engage him. So we're going to put this back on top, because this doesn't add any threat this time. This is basically a dead card for the encounter deck. Not for me, it's a help to me. So I only need to quest through 2. I know that I'm only going to have 3 in the staging area, so I can just put... oh, sorry. I don't want to go to the quest phase yet. Hold up. Hold up. Oh. Okay, those of you watching at home probably are smashing the comment section right now, saying, John, why didn't you do this? Okay, so let's just do it for fun. Dagger of Westernessa on Mary. So he's loaded up. He's in full murder mode now. He is 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. Boy, that is... We're doing it. I want a quick strike. This is not a combat action or anything. It's just an action. So in the planning phase still, we're going to quick strike Mary. Exhaust a character you control to immediately declare it as an attacker and resolve its attack against any eligible enemy target. So exhaust Mary. He attacks for 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. Because Dagger of Westernessa is a +2 if attacking an enemy with an engagement cost higher than your threat. So 4 of those get through. I don't quite kill the Ringwraith, but Mary he's practicing. You know what? He's practicing. That's what he's doing. Okay. Yeah. Cool. All right. So at this point, this is just math. All right. So I don't have to quest with more than Aragorn and Frodo, because that'll be 2, 4, 6 against 3. I will do more than enough progress to win the quest, but let's do this anyway, and I'll play this round out. Okay. So I raise my threat by 1 to avoid shuffling in another Ringwraith, because if I did that, then I would for sure get it. So we get Piercing Cry. Search the encounter deck and discard pile for a Nazgul enemy. Either add it to the staging area or put it into play. Engage with the first player. Shuffle the encounter deck. Well, all I can do from that is shuffle the encounter deck. I fulfill as much of the card as I can, and there's no instruction about if this whiffs to get another card. So, yeah. All right. So we do enough progress. We do more than enough progress. And we win the quest. Hooray. You want to finish killing a Ringwraith? Yeah, I do too. Okay. Readying Aragorn to defend. He's defending for 2 + 1, 3. So he's going to take 2 more damage. He's at 3 damage out of 5. It's okay. He's not dead yet. Oh, That response should have triggered, you're right, comment section, you're right. That response I should have triggered back right after he quested. I'm sorry, I goofed up. Just put a big asterisk right here. Hopefully I remember to do this in Premiere. Oh, look at that asterisk. It's huge. Okay. Anyway, we won anyway, it doesn't matter. But he's ready. He's ready. Or sorry, he was ready by that. He defended for that, whatever. Sam. Oh, I don't know that we're going to be able to kill it. Nope, we're not going to be able to kill it. Oh, well. We won. It would be nice to be able to kill it, wouldn't it? You know what I could do? Because I did have that extra resource. So I had 3 resources here, 2 resources on Sam. I can't actually use Grim Resolve, which I can't tell you the last time I played this card. So ready all character cards in play. Everybody readies, including Mary. And then Mary and Bill the Pony, just for giggles, attack and kill the Ringwraith. I don't have enough damage tokens, so we're just going to pour all of them on there. There we go. Okay. So that was the 4th quest of Lord of the Rings, the card game, the magazine. So let's take a look at some of the other portions here that are part of this magazine. First off, let me clean up my play area a little bit. Got a lot of progress tokens to get rid of. Got a lot of, all the damage. Look at that. You know what? That's pretty cathartic right there, I gotta say. That makes me happy. Yeah. All those damage tokens. I love it. Okay. No victory on him. They just go back up there. The one thing we didn't get to do is kill Bill Ferny, but that's all right. So, let's take a look at multiplayer games. Multiplayer games. The games you've played so far have been solo adventures with you as the only player taking control of all the heroes as they attempt their perilous quests. But you can also play the Lord of the Rings, the card game, as a multiplayer game. Read on for all the rules you need. Number 1, cooperative play. Unlike most other multiplayer games you might have played, the Lord of the Rings, the card game, is a cooperative game. That means all the players are on the same side, working together to defeat the many threats and enemies awaiting you on your quest. We hope you're all on the same side. But, you know. Anyway, players don't play against each other like you might be used to from most other games. You can find all the rules you need to set up and play a multiplayer game here. Players. You can play a multiplayer game with up to 4 players, but it's probably best to try a few games with just 2 to get used to the rules first. That is excellent advice. That is excellent advice. Heroes. In a multiplayer game, each player can control up to 3 heroes. You can either pick these heroes for yourselves, or you can choose those suggested for the adventure. Players can't have copies of the same heroes, so if you want to use specific characters, you'll need to share them out between you. Sort them out between you, I think is what it means. Share them out, British folks, is that a phrase? I don't think it's a phrase. But anyway. Decks. In a multiplayer game, each player has their own deck of player cards. The encounter deck, however, is shared between the players. And you can see the diagram here for the players, the staging area, all that. I don't know that I would recommend actually playing like what's shown here, but whatever. It's all right. Threat tracker. Wait, what? How is that not a... We're back to step 1 again. I don't know. Threat tracker. Each player needs their own threat tracker and should keep track of their own threat level. The first player. In a multiplayer game, one player will be the first player, and this will change during the game. At the start of the game, choose which player will be your first player. At the end of each turn, after readying your cards and increasing your threat level by 1, the job of the first player moves on to the next player clockwise from the current first player. Yeah, that's 100% right. Okay. Setting up. In a multiplayer game, each player has their own play area, and the players altogether share a single staging area. Generally true. Taking turns. In a multiplayer game, players take turns together, one phase at a time. Once all the players have completed a phase, you can move on to the next one, just like in a solo player game. The order in which the players act in each phase varies a bit, though, and a few new rules apply to some of the phases too. Resource phase. Players carry out the resource phase at the same time. Planning phase. The first player goes first in the planning phase, and then play proceeds clockwise. Quest phase. Play starts with the first player, and then moves clockwise. Players can commit any number of characters they want, and the quest is resolved by all the players together at the end. So you simply add up the willpower of all the characters committed to the quest by any of the players. Mostly correct. Travel phase. If the players choose to travel, they travel together. You can only have one active location in the game, no matter how many players there are. I'm still bugged about the quest phase, because you do commit all the characters at the same time. That's the... Again, the quest phase seems to be a point of, well, problem for this magazine. Encounter phase. In the encounter phase, each player has the opportunity to make one optional engagement. Players can make these optional engagements in any order they want. After that, players must make engagement checks, starting with the first player and proceeding clockwise. Combat phase. In the combat phase, the first player goes first and resolves all the attacks made by enemies they are engaged with. Then the next player in a clockwise direction does the same, and so on. After that, players get to make their own attacks in the same order. Yeah. Refresh phase. Players carry out the refresh phase at the same time. Just remember that the job of first player moves along to the next player in a clockwise direction. Great. All that, mostly solid. Quest phase, again, a problem. Encounter cards. Perhaps the biggest difference in a multiplayer game is that when you reveal an encounter card during the quest phase, you should instead reveal one card for each player. So you'll have more heroes and more resources to help you in the quest, but also more enemies and threats to deal with. Cards that say, you. Some cards refer to you as the player. In a solo player game, that is, of course, you. In a multiplayer game, any encounter card which said you should be taken to refer to the first player. Okay, so Squint-Eyed Southerner, when revealed, you must either shuffle. Okay. That runs into trouble here on unwanted attention. They don't explain the peril keyword. The peril keyword, though, means that it can only be resolved by the player who drew it. Now, that rule's not explained in here. Under the Hachette rule, golden rule, if you don't understand something, skip it, or whatever it said back in issue 1. So peril, I guess, we just ignore. So when revealed, you must either remove 2 heroes you control from the quest or shuffle an out-of-play Ringwraith into the encounter deck. That really stinks if your first player is your questing deck. Let me see. Lure of the Ring is the first player specific anyway. This would be if you have failed a hide test this phase. Yeah. I mean, I don't like that. I don't like that explanation of the word you. I think it should it should refer to the player that drew the card. Anyway, that's a problem. Yeah. Multiplayer, Trouble in Bree. This issue's adventure, Trouble in Bree, like most adventures in the Lord of the Rings, the card game works equally well as either a solo player or a multiplayer adventure. It's an ideal choice for your first multiplayer adventure, and here's how to do it. 1. Heroes. If you're playing Trouble in Bree as a multiplayer adventure, one player takes control of Aragorn, and the other player takes control of Sam Gamgee, Merry, and Pippin. At the start of the game, attach the Strider card to Aragorn. The player who controls Aragorn will be the first player in the first turn of the game. The One Ring and the Ring Bearer. The One Ring and the Ring Bearer, Frodo Baggins, is a special kind of hero with the Ring Bearer trait. As Frodo is so important to the quest, he isn't under the control of any one player in a multiplayer game. Instead, at the start of each turn, Frodo and the One Ring should be placed under the control of the first player, who gets to use them as one of their own heroes for that turn. At the start of the next turn, Frodo and the One Ring will move to the control of the next player, and so on. Strider. In a multiplayer game, each player can usually control up to 3 heroes, but there are times when it may be more advantageous, or just more fun, to choose only 1 or 2. The Strider card is one example of when this might be a good idea. It gives you a bonus if you control 5 or fewer characters, but an even bigger bonus if you control 2 or fewer heroes. That means you'll still get the bonus even during those turns when you control Frodo Baggins too. Since Aragorn, with the Strider card, doesn't exhaust to commit to a quest, he can do that and still fight in combat in the same turn, making him a really dangerous lone hero. Yeah, but you're not going to usually start with Strider in play. Okay. Then some player decks. Each player needs their own deck of player cards. You can build your own deck using any of the cards you want from your collection, or use the 2 decks recommended below, one for Aragorn as Strider, and one for the Hobbits. If you're building your own deck, you can choose up to 20 cards for Aragorn's deck, including the Strider card, and up to 30 cards for the Hobbit's deck. That's interesting. I mean, that's, well, so you have about 52 or 53 cards, I think. No, I take that back. You're probably pushing 60 cards at this point. So I can see that making sense for how they play. Additional encounter cards. If you want an extra challenge and you and a friend both have your own copies of Lord of the Rings, the card game collection, you can make Trouble at Bree even more of a challenge by combining your 2 copies of the encounter deck. As normal, set the Ringwraith cards aside. Add Bill Ferny to the staging area and shuffle all the remaining cards together. You won't need a second copy of Bill Ferny. There is, fortunately, only one of him. Yeah, don't do that. Because there's nothing but treacheries and enemies. And the treacheries summon the enemies or put more enemies in the encounter deck. Don't do that. It's not a... All right. Let's move on to look at the rules about planning, because this actually is an interesting section in this issue. Phase 2, planning. The planning phase represents the mustering of the heroes before the next leg of their journey, preparing them with the items and allies they will need for a successful quest. During the planning phase, players can play ally and attachment cards from their hands. Ally cards represent friends, followers, and companions of the heroes, and attachment cards represent weapons, armor, items, artifacts, and skills that can aid the heroes during their adventure. Starting with the first player and proceeding clockwise, each player has an opportunity to play any number of ally and attachment cards from his or her hand. To play a card, a player must pay the card's cost, which is described later. Then the card is played and placed in that player's play area. After each player has had an opportunity to play cards, proceed to the quest phase. Strictly speaking, that doesn't apply for events, but moving on. Paying costs. To pay a card's cost, a player must spend a number of resources equal to that cost, which is presented in the upper left corner of the card. When a player spends a resource, that player takes a resource from one of their hero's resources pools and places it in the supply. A player cannot pay for a card using a resource from any pool. He or she must take the resources from a pool that provides a resource match. That is, the resources must be spent from heroes whose sphere of influence matches the sphere of influence of the card being played. Spheres of influence are discussed in greater detail over the page. For example, a player can only play cards that have a leadership icon by spending resources from heroes who also have a leadership icon. A player can spend resources from multiple heroes' resource pools to pay for a single card if there is a resource match among that card and each pool from which resources are spent. Kind of awkwardly worded, but you get the idea. If a card has a cost of 0, a player can play that card without spending any resources. However, the player must have at least one hero in play that matches that card's sphere of influence. Oh boy. I didn't say it, the magazine did, and actually the FAQ did a long time ago. So that's contentious but true. Lastly, planning continued. Spheres of influence. Most player cards in the Lord of the Rings, the card game, are from one of the 4 spheres of influence. A card sphere indicates which resources a player can spend to pay for that card. Each sphere is represented by an icon that is presented on the right side of an ally, attachment, and event cards, and the lower left corner of hero cards. Each sphere has a distinct identity and playstyle and is represented by an icon and color. Purple is leadership. The sphere of leadership emphasizes a hero's charisma and influence, particularly a hero's potential to lead, inspire, command both allies and other heroes, and also pay for dang near everything, because that's the resource sphere. Notice there's no Steward of Gondor yet in this card pool. That's probably for the best. Lore, green. The sphere of lore emphasizes the potential of a hero's mind, particularly that hero's wisdom, experience, and specialized knowledge. Blue, spirit. The sphere of spirit emphasizes the strength of a hero's will, particularly that hero's determination, resilience, courage, loyalty, and heart. Red, tactics. The sphere of tactics emphasizes a hero's martial prowess, particularly that hero's combat effectiveness and tactical mastery. Orange? Question mark? Fellowship. The fellowship sphere emphasizes the sacrifice and determination of the valiant heroes who took up the burden of carrying the One Ring in the fight against Sauron. Well, except for Fellowship Aragorn, but we don't know about that yet. Placing cards. Each card type dictates how it is played. When a player plays an ally card, place the card in that player's play area. When a player plays an attachment card, attach it to another card that is already in play by placing it in a position so that the in-play card slightly overlaps the attachment. Each attachment card describes a set of cards it can be attached to. Most are attached to hero cards, but some can be attached to other card types. Yeah, okay. We'll give them that. Paying for cards. Example. Aragorn has a leadership resource icon and 2 resource icon tokens in his resource pool. Sam Gamgee also has a leadership icon and 1 resource token in his resource pool, while Pippin has a spirit resource icon and 2 resource tokens in his resource pool. You want to play the ally Son of Arnor from your hand. Son of Arnor has a leadership sphere icon, so you can pay its cost only with resources from characters that have the leadership icon. So you can spend 2 resource tokens from Aragorn's resource pool and 1 resource token from Sam Gamgee's resource pool, returning those tokens to the token bank. You can now place Son of Arnor ready in your play area. Although, why would you? I'm just kidding. All right. Last couple of things here. We see this page that we've seen before, showing the card binder that doesn't exist as far as we know. The deck box that would have been kind of cool. The playmat, that's a neat piece of art. Although I think that playmat is one you can get commercially at retail. If they're currently in print, I don't know. As of the time of this recording, I don't know. As of the time of you watching this, I definitely don't know if they're in print or not. But you should look. That's a good playmat. And lastly, the thing that never happened, issue 5. Keep adding to your deck. Not keep adding to your debt. No, don't do that. Pay down your debt. Get on a budget. Be smart. And then keep adding to your deck in issue 5. Weathertop. The quest phase, which last time I kind of made a joke about, oh, finally the quest phase. But actually, I have to say, this phase breakdown, that's useful. Kind of wish that had been in an earlier issue. I understand page counts, they probably weren't able to fit it in layout. You know, adding pages to a print product it's a thing. You can't just do it, all right? Usually you gotta add 4. And I can understand maybe why they didn't do it. All right, so let's wrap this up. You have my thoughts on this quest. I kind of interspersed some things through the play there. So I'm not going to focus so much on this last quest as much as I am. Let's just talk about the whole Lord of the Rings, the card game, the magazine, the adventure quest thing as a concept. I have to say, this was a really bold idea. Like, full marks for boldness and for, like, this is it's a cool idea. What can I say? It's a cool idea. It's a cool idea that I was really excited that I was able to play through. And hopefully you have enjoyed watching these videos to this point. That being said, though it is a very bold idea, it's the execution of it, it just falls down. It falls flat. There are too many editorial mistakes that would confuse new players. And it is, unfortunately, I think it is its own worst enemy. Now, it's hard to do games, all right? It's hard to write rules. It's like that's why things go through play testing, and that's why things go through sometimes very extensive play testing, and even alpha releases sometimes, as currently seeing as of the time of this video with the One Ring RPG, 2nd edition. So I understand, you know, yes, that all that's true, but if you're trying to teach this very, frankly, complicated game, you can't set yourself back so much by continually making mistakes in the instructional material. It's just not going to work. Now, as I've said before, these are the only 4 issues that will ever be for this product, either because of COVID or because of disinterest, or maybe just because it doesn't even quite work as a product right now. There were only 4 issues. So I don't know to what point player experience played into this. I actually don't know how many people played through all 4 of these. Because there's a good question. You know, the overall question has been, would this teach you the game? Well, I'll answer that in a moment. But it is definitely, for a new player, I see this being a pretty confusing experience. one of the things being, of course, the quest phase. This has been something I've pointed out, I think, in almost every video. The quest phase is a mess. The fact that we don't get threat introduced until the third issue, and the fact that not questing at all doesn't raise your threat at all. That in fact, there's no negative consequence really for not questing hard enough. It really makes it really takes out a big part of the game, frankly, a big part of the strategy of the game. And I mean, with that though, with the composition of these encounter decks, it's actually a little bit of a mercy because, frankly, these encounter decks, I think there's only one that has an actual locations in them. All the rest of the encounter decks are just enemies and just treacheries. And if you're playing solo, you need the occasional location to give you a round of breathing space to deal with an enemy. So, yeah, the encounter deck composition is hard and harsh because they're very thin encounter decks, since they can't, they can't put 50 cards in for every encounter deck, or 35 cards in for every encounter deck. They only have a limited number of cards that they can put in the pack, and they have to include player cards, and they have to include the magazine, and they have to sell it for, what does this sell for? £6.99, so £7. That seems like a low price point. So they have some challenges, and because of that, the encounter decks are composed of some pretty harsh cards, and are likely to combo off of each other pretty easily, and really, really, really wreck a board state. With that, though, too, there's not full sets of cards, of player cards. Like, you don't get, there's rarely any of these cards. As I look through this really quickly, I don't think you get a full 3 of anything. Yeah, to my knowledge, you don't get 3 copies of anything, other than, I take that back, other than Frodo's Intuition. I think you have 3 copies of that, and maybe Halfling Determination. Yeah, you have 3 copies of Halfling Determination and 3 copies of Frodo's Intuition. Honestly, you need them, so no complaints there. But otherwise, you don't get full play sets. Now, you're at the most that the largest deck size that I've had so far was 30 cards. So you know what? You don't really need 3 ofs in a 30 card deck. 3 ofs are a bit excessive. Although I did put 3 of Halfling Determination and 3 of Frodo's Intuition in there. But anyway, yeah, I understand why there's not 3. But that is something that would need to be addressed at a later point, which means you're going to get an issue that has, 2 more Grim Resolves. Great. Eventually you might get 3 Brock Iron Fists. Anyway. Okay. Other mechanics that we're missing. Shadows. Shadows, 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 shadows. Again, I understand why, kind of, from a production perspective, because they only have so many encounter cards in the deck, and you're cycling through basically double the number of cards every game. Fine. Also, it's one more complication to teach in combat. Fine. But that's really something that makes the Lord of the Rings a card game, which is a living card game by Fantasy Flight Games. It makes it interesting. It makes combat more than just math, because as you saw repeatedly through this, I was defending with Sam. I'm like, well, Sam's definitely going to only take 1 damage. Oh, well, I'll just defend with Sam. He'll take 1 damage, but I'm probably only going to need to do this once or twice, and I've got Bill, whatever. It was very, combat had no, it had no peril to it, really. I knew from the time that I engaged the enemy exactly what was going to happen, exactly how it was going to play out. It was only a matter of talking to you and putting the actual tokens and exhausting the cards. But I knew exactly what was going to happen. That's not fun. At least that's not fun after a few plays. That's not fun if you're going to play this game for more than a couple of months, if that. So, no shadows. That's a big knock on it. Again, this is a very bold idea, and I, again, want to give them a lot of credit. And honestly, it's a very beautiful product. Like, from a print perspective, it's a gorgeous product. I am going to enjoy just looking at these, because it's cool to have some of this art in larger formats. I think I think it was issue 2. You've got a big version of just this beautiful landscape. And I think it was the West Bank card. Yeah, the art from the West Bank card. It was just, from that aspect, it's really neat. It is a beautiful product with the foil cards, because again, That foil One Ring is just stunning. And check out, I don't know if you can see that, Frodo, the ring on Frodo's card is foiled. That's really cool. And I'm going to double check the card text against the Black Riders Frodo card text, but honestly, he's probably going to go in a sleeve and be my my version of Black Riders Frodo. You know, I'll throw a foil Bill the Pony in for the fun of it. I mean, these are well-made cards. So should you buy it? Well, not if you're wanting to learn the game. Okay, that's just it. Not if you're wanting to learn the game. Should you buy it? If you want to collect it because because it looks cool and the foil cards are cool, then yeah, sure, do it. I wouldn't pay crazy eBay prices for it, but if you are able to find it in a trade or do something and get a hold of it, yeah, I mean, from that perspective, yeah, it's kind of a cool product, and it is really pretty, really nice to look at. Generally speaking, very well made from a print side. From an editorial side, that's been covered to death. So yeah. So, the big question. If I were a new player, learning the game or trying to learn the game for the first time, would this teach me the game? I have to say, to a degree, yes. But it would provide me so many major questions. And I mean major questions. Questions about the quest phase, questions about when is a quest card or the magazine, when is it a location versus when is it supposed to be representing a quest that I'm questing against. Questions about, you know, the many confusions with regards to terminology and keywords. And I mean, even back in, was it 1 and I think 2, the surge keyword that sort of just didn't matter for a second and then suddenly did, or did and then didn't. I mean, there are, yeah, it would give me so many big questions that I don't know if I would stick with it, honestly. I would not feel that this was a very well put together game, which is sad because the Lord of the Rings, the card game, is it's an excellent game. It is very well put together. It's very well balanced over the course of, now it has its moments, don't get me wrong, it has its moments, but once you settle into everything after Against the Shadow, once you get into kind of Caleb's rule as the lead designer for it, things begin to settle down. And there's a time there that MJ works on it and brings in some really fun stuff, and then the game just matures and hits a great long beautiful stride, even up to its last cycle. And as hard as the last cycle is, and as wild as the last cycle is, with some of the player cards, it's still a lot of fun. And I don't get that sense of polish from the way the magazine is put together. And I think as a new player, it would really frustrate me. It's very thematic, and full marks for theme, but I don't know that it has the mechanical polish and the marriage of the mechanics and of the theme and the mechanical polish that was so that was a hallmark of the published game by FFG. I just don't see that unity of those two things here. I'll also say that if this was the main way that I learned the game, my first game with other people at a convention or with other people who had ever played the real game, if you will, would be very confusing, perhaps even a rude awakening, just because there is so much in the quest phase that's different. Just that alone would be mind-boggling, and would frankly it would be a feel-bad moment. I would feel less skilled, less intelligent even than the other players, because I didn't know that you have to commit characters to the quest phase, or your threat just goes up by the threat of whatever's in the staging area. Yeah, I mean that would be a feel-bad moment. All right, so I've been talking for a while, so it's time to wrap this up. I guess if you are a new player or are considering getting into Lord of the Rings, the card game, you should do it. it truly is a great game. It is my favorite game. I mean, this, you know, it doesn't happen by accident. It's a great game. It's a great game if you love the story of the Lord of the Rings. If you love the movies, it's great. If you love the books, it's great. If you are a huge Tolkien nerd like me and dig into all the other stuff and in the other like history of Middle-earth stuff, it's a great game. It really is a great game. The developers of this game cared about the source material. It is one of the rare licensed games that respects, honors, and in some ways even, dare I say, enhances a little bit the story of the source material. You should get into this game. But don't feel like you have to go chasing down the magazines to do it. You should find a core set, or find someone's collection, find the new player advice videos that we've got here on the channel, or some other playthroughs. We're not the only ones who do this, okay? And get into the game, plugged into the community. It's a great community, which you should be a part of. Now, for those of you that have been playing the game for a while and have watched these videos as just sort of a curiosity about what was in the magazine, gee, did I miss out on much? Well, now you know what you missed out on and what I had to drag myself through. No, I'm kidding. Like I said, this, in summary, is a very ambitious product. Full credit to them for their ambition. The execution really has its problems, and so probably for the best that it didn't continue on, because they were going to put themselves in some very difficult corners, I think. All that being said, if this game did introduce you, if this magazine did introduce you to Lord of the Rings, the card game, I want to hear about it. Send us an email, cardboardoftherings@gmail.com. Find us on Twitter, @COTRPodcast. Come hang out on our Discord server. Let us know. All right, well, that's it for me. Once again, I'm John from Cardboard of the Rings. I hope you enjoyed this series. I hope you'll listen to the show, and I hope to talk to you somewhere out there in the ether, or maybe catch you at a convention sometime soon.